Hello and welcome to Conversations with Carrie. I am your host, Carrie Adlington, and I run this podcast and I'm an empowerment coach. I'm here today because I'd like to share with you something that I've been learning about over these last couple of weeks, and I think that if you are starting on your entrepreneurial journey, or perhaps you've reached a bit of a stagnant point, or you're feeling like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Then this is going to perhaps give you a fresh look at where you're at and what you can create. Now, when it comes to creating anything, but particularly I find with business more than anything else, because business is like a garden. It's something that we create. It doesn't exist from nature. We are involved in it from every step of the way. It simply does not create itself like a forest does, or like a seashore does. It needs our involvement, and as such, by definition, it is a garden. And so what we bring to that garden, what we choose to plant in that garden, matters. What fertilizer we're using to help our plants to grow, what water we're putting on there, how often we're doing that, how often we rest the gardener. Do we get it? Does the garden get enough sun? Does it get enough breeze? Does it need boundaries? We can use the metaphor of the garden for so much of what we create, and especially in business, because it is something that we create from the ground up, and it has a consciousness of its own. That's a whole other conversation to have at another time. But right now, what I'd like to focus on is a little word. It's a little word that can have many connotations, that can have many meanings, misnomers, that can stir up so much. And I'm deliberately going to use it here. And that word is desire. What is it that you desire? What desire led you to think about creating a business, or led you down the path that you're walking down, or up, depending on how you look at it? I want to speak to this word desire, because this may be raising some uncomfortableness in you, or maybe it's not. And either way, I want to address it, because it's a word that I struggled with. Desire kind of, for me, brought up things like frivolousness, unnecessary luxuries. What do I need that for? What could I want that for? It felt unnecessary, a desire. But here is the thing, and I'm learning this from Kasia Urbaniak, and I highly recommend her book Unbound. When we live by our desires, a desire, and even just taste that word, and I literally mean that. Try it on, say it a few times with me. Desire. Desire. And just really feel that word. When I started to play with it more, I noticed how sensuous it was. And when I heard Kasia Urbaniak use that word, it was like she was getting a high on it almost. She was feeling it so deeply in her body. Desire conjures up images of strawberries dunked in a scrumptious, not sure if scrumptious is the right word, but the most smooth, delicate, yummy chocolate, and someone placing it in your mouth so that you can bite that juicy strawberry dripping in chocolate. That's the imagery that I got when I was hearing her say the word. Maybe for you it's something different. The beautiful thing about a desire is that when we are able to connect with it, when we're really able to connect with desire, we are able to embody it. It becomes part of us. It's something that we feel deep down in our bodies. We can feel it crawling under our skin. We may feel our heart burn with it. There's an essence of yearning and longing that must be fulfilled. How do we access? Actually, no, before I go into the how, I want to stay a little bit longer in this why it matters. Why it matters that we tune into our desires. Because what I'm noticing is that as I tune into my desires more and more, it's like a fire that burns. It's like a fuel in my belly that helps to drive me forward. What is the bigger thing that I want to create that meets this need of a desire? And it is a need, it is a necessity. We were born with a desire in our heart, in our soul. We yearn to achieve or to do or to be something, to have some effect, some impact in the world. If you did not, you would not be listening to this podcast. So I know, because you are here for something greater than you have perhaps even ever considered or imagined. And I want to honor that, and I want to acknowledge that, because it is so powerful. So desires. How do you access these things? Well, actually, have we even really talked about what a desire is yet? Perhaps not. I've spoken to it a little bit. Maybe there's a bit more we can share and unpack together about what a desire really is. So we can talk about needs, we can talk about wants, and we can talk about desires. So a need is something that is universal. It is universal to everyone. A need is something that you must have to survive on this earthly planet. A need is something that is not unique to you. Your neighbour will need it. Their neighbour will need it. A person in another country in a totally different situation will need it. And needs can encompass things like our core needs, for example, shared by Tony Robbins, which are... And here, this is where my mind goes blank. No, it's all good. Needs such as... Actually, there's different needs, right? Thinking about Maslow needs, because it's coming to mind more. The physical needs, the needs of the body, food, a place to shelter, water to drink. Those are basic human needs. Emotional needs are things like certainty, comfort, adventure, variety, uncertainty, having change happen. Like, have you ever had the same thing over and over again, whether it's food or whether it's you're living in the same place and you're craving for something new, for something different to happen? It's human nature. It's part of us. And some people are more driven by variety and change than others. And that's totally cool. Other drivers, other needs can be things like connection, that need to belong and feel like we are seen and heard by others, and that it's okay and we are safe in the presence of other people. It's a totally valid need. And this can compete with our fourth need of uniqueness, to stand out, to separate ourselves from someone else. It can be, in terms of roles, it could be the rebel in us that just wants to say no for the sake of saying no. They want to wear different clothes. It could be a different hairstyle. It could be driving a different car to everyone else. Everyone's driving silver cars. Well, I'm going to drive a red one or a purple one. Perhaps it's the way you paint your nails, or the way you put colour in your hair. Or maybe not. And either way that you express your uniqueness is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just part of you and who you are and the way you choose to show up. Other needs could be things like meaning and growth, looking for meaning in life. And for many people who go into business, not everyone, to be fair, some people I've met who are entrepreneurs who have their own business. I met a potter once and she's like, well, I just make pottery because it sells and it puts bread and butter on my table. And she was that matter of fact about it. She wasn't looking for meaning. She wasn't looking for growth except for her bank account so she could afford to put food on her table. You know? So not everyone who's an entrepreneur seeks meaning or growth. However, there are some people and some entrepreneurs that are, and I think that you will come under that you do want more than simply what you have right now. And that's why you're listening to this podcast still. So meaning and growth are other needs. And they're high needs. Most people live by the first four needs and don't necessarily explore the other two. But here's the thing, if we're not green and growing, we are ripe and rotting. And what I mean by that is that if we're not growing, if we're not constantly expanding our minds, if we're not constantly learning about how to be more healthy, how to take care of our bodies better, we're going to degrade and degenerate. We're going to rot. Life isn't going to be much fun if we're just a big pile of mush under a tree or wherever, versus green, growing, reaching for the sun, flowering, blossoming, putting our roots down, growing even bigger, growing even more, sheltering others, allowing them space to come up. There's much more to that, don't you think? Than something that's ripe and rotting, perhaps feeding a few wasps and little else. So needs, universal things. Everyone has them. What are wants then? Wants are things that define our uniqueness in our needs. For example, say someone needs certainty. They want comfort. How one person experiences comfort will be quite different from another person's comfort. For me, comfort is knowing I have a certain amount of money in the bank account. It's having a bed that feels comfortable for me to sleep in at night. It's knowing that when I wake up in the morning, I'm safe, that nothing scary is going to happen to me. There's an element of having similar things, like routine, for instance, is a little bit of a form of comfort. But for someone else, comfort might mean sitting on the couch, watching their favorite Netflix. It could be a certain kind of food that gives them comfort. It could be knowing that they've got certain friends that they can call on to give them comfort. And then here lies our wants. What I want to fulfill my needs will be different from someone else wants to fulfill their needs. Isn't that interesting and exciting? And beneath that, beneath our needs and our wants, we get to our desires. And our desires are something that we want to feel, we want to experience, we want to enjoy and savor and love. I trust that this resonates with you. For instance, for example, let's have a look at the example I gave before about comfort. So for me, actually no, because a desire runs deeper than comfort. For me, a big need is to grow. It is to grow, and underneath that is the want to, right now, part of my growth is to create a conscious garden. Now, I've done it in the past and it was awesome. I felt like there was more to it that I could have done, and since moving out to my current place, I haven't done it because I've had this belief that it takes more time, it takes more energy, and I felt like it was going to take me, even though I know food is a basic need and that times are really calling for us to grow our own food, I haven't been able to go off my backside and make it happen. And I've recently started to, in fact this week, started to really tune into this desire. It's like, what is the desire around having this garden, really? And I realised it was having this connection. It wasn't about the food. It wasn't about being outside in the garden and getting dirty and connected to the ground and stuff like that. No. It was more than that. It was about actually connecting with the elements and connecting with the elementals and connecting with the spirit and the consciousness of the garden. And I realised I turned it also into a big project. And so I'm turning it into a little project. I'm going to grow some microgreens. I've bought some stuff and I'm loving it because it's helping me to meet that desire of creating something with consciousness, with nature. And I feel this desire as I'm talking about it as a yearning for a connection, a deeper soul connection with my environment, with Mother Earth, to feel like all of my needs can be met with ease, because I know nature is prolific. If you've ever grown a garden, you only need a few seeds to start a garden, and that's it. Seriously. I put a few seeds in the garden when I was growing one and grew a few plants, and we let some of those plants go to seed, and I collected so many more seeds off those plants than I actually planted or bought. Nature is abundant, and I wanted to connect with that as well. So my desire is for a soul connection with nature. And it's more than that. It's a connection with me. It's more of a deeper connection to my essence and who I am and who I am being and what I can truly create in a way that works with the world that I walk upon, and have the world walk alongside of me and with me, instead of feeling like I'm working against it. And that's pretty powerful stuff. So how do we tap into our desires? How do we start to play with this? Well, there's a few different ways, and I'm going to share a couple with you here because they've really helped me. So the first exercise you can do is a very simple one, and this was one from Kasia Urbaniak's book, Unbound, and I'll post a link to Amazon so you can go ahead and purchase it if you would like. Okay, so Kasia Urbaniak, she says, every complaint hides a desire. Every complaint hides a desire. She says that most women complain about things, but she says she doesn't know of any complaint that a woman could make that could not just as easily be turned into a desire and something that she could actually ask for. So let me give you an example of this. And in fact, the example that she gave was, you don't buy me flowers. Well, okay. So is that a desire for freesias? Do you just love freesias and you just like some? Is it that simple? Or is it something deeper? Does the you don't buy me flowers complaint really symbolize that you would love to rekindle your relationship? To have your lover of 10 years become your seducer again? To have him worship you and each other for a couple of hours a week? Let me offer you another example. Have you ever said to someone, oh, it's chilly in here, and the window's open, and you're hoping that the other person will get your hint that the door's open and that you'd like them to close it? And have they ever got kind of annoyed with you? Or have you ever got annoyed with them because they didn't get the hint? And they've kind of felt frustrated because you're upset with them, but they don't really know why. I've had this happen. I've done this. And my partner, because we were listening to it together, and he nodded his head. He was like, yeah, I recognise that. So it's interesting, isn't it? When we think about it, that the desire is really to not have a draft. The ask is simply, could you close the window, or could you close the door? Would that be okay? And we don't even really have to ask for permission about it either. So complaints into a desire is one way we can reach what it is that we truly want. Another way, this is from Mel Robbins. I will share this with you because I heard this morning. Jealousy. Do you find yourself getting jealous about certain people or certain things, especially people? For instance, Mel Robbins said, well, someone owns an apartment in New York and they're on the 10th floor. I don't get jealous about that. Why don't I get jealous about that? It's not for me. But when someone's got a podcast and they're reaching 1 million people and they're making it look so easy and they sound fantastic and they're getting really great reviews, I'm jealous of that. But what are they jealous of? Is she jealous of the person running the podcast? No, not really. what it is a clue that actually this is a desire. She's been wanting to do a podcast for a long time, and here is someone having the success she deep down knows that she could have too, but she's not yet. So the jealousy is a clue that actually this is something for her, something that she could have and that she could do, and it would make her feel good because it's eliciting an emotional response. So that's the second way that you can tune into your desires. And the third, I already mentioned about the complaints, jealousy. There was one more, and I didn't have it written down. So those two should get you started to help you connect to your deepest desires. And I'll share with you the exercise that I did the other day in our Embodied Woman school. So this is with Hayley Latcham, and this is a phenomenal exercise. So I'll share this with you. So first of all, you go through, what is it that you need? What is it that you need? And you might struggle at first, and you might play it safe. What is it that you need? Once you've written something down, think about, what is it that you really, deep down, need? What is a secret need? Something that you wouldn't ordinarily share with anyone. Something that you keep just to yourself. Perhaps it's the way you'd like to be touched. Perhaps it's a word that you would love to be said, softly spoken into your ear. Whatever it is, a secret need. And then ask yourself, what else? What else? What else? And see what you come up with. See what flows out of your mouth, out of your pen, out of your body. There's no right or wrong. It's not about pleasing anyone. It can be wicked, it can be wild, it can be frivolous, it can be luxurious, it can be silly, it can be lazy. It's whatever you need. The second part of the exercise is to do exactly what you did with needs, but with wants. What is it that you want? What is it that you really want? What is a secret want that you have never told anyone? And let the words flow. What else? What else do you want? What else do you really, really want? And finally, your desires. Allowing that word to roll around in your mouth for a few times, feeling the sensuality of it, feeling the velvet of it caressing your tongue and your lips and the way that it fills your body. Desire. What is it that you truly desire? What do you really desire? What do you desire so much that would make your toes curl and the hair stand up on your head and your body? That would make you feel so alive? What do you desire? truly, deeply desire to the core of your being. What else? What else? What else? And if you didn't get a chance to write things down as I was speaking, go back and listen to this audio again. Pause at those moments where I ask the question, write them down and answer them. And come back time and again and let the words sit there for a while. I noticed that after doing this exercise, I had more answers occur to me. As I slept on it and woke up this morning, I was like bursting. I was like, oh, yes, here is a desire that I hadn't thought of, that I hadn't connected with. The desire for my garden, the desire for connection with nature, the desire to embody so much more of who I am and can be. It's exciting stuff. So what have we covered? We've covered desire, why it's important, how it fuels us to and drives us to achieve great things, an incredible life, an incredible business, beautiful relationships. We've looked at the differences between needs, wants, and desires so that you know what a desire isn't, and so you know what it is. We've looked at how you can reach your desires through 3 very simple exercises. Looking for complaints that hide a secret, hidden desire. Using jealousy as clues as to what it is that you want and truly desire to create. And using our needs, wants, and desires to spark new ideas. And continuously asking, what else is a powerful means of expanding your thoughts? Don't stop with just 1 or 2 or 3. Keep going and going and going. Let those words flow out, no matter how ridiculous, outlandish they seem to be, no matter how much you think they will displease somebody else. It's not the point. This is you and your wants, and sometimes we have to pendulum swing from the most ridiculous to the other side of the most ridiculous before we finally get to the middle ground, which is where we truly desire what we desire and can work from. As always, I trust that you found this useful, and I thank you for listening. And if you would like to know more about your behavior patterns, if you'd like to understand perhaps some of the desires that your behaviors could be hiding as well, because this is something that I've discovered too, that our unresourceful behaviors can also lead to clues about our truest desires and how we can actually access them as well. So if that is something that intrigues you, please use the link in the description below to access a free report. It's completely personalized. You simply answer a few questions. Just give me a day or 2, because I do it manually, to assess your answers, and I create a personalized report which I then send to you by email. And if you'd like to go over that, you are invited to have a chat with me. I absolutely love unpacking these profiles with people, especially empowered women on this journey of wanting to create change and impact, to help give you clearer insights on where you're heading. And there's no obligation with that. It's my way of giving back. So first of all, though, you're more than welcome to the profile. And if that's where you want to leave it, that's absolutely cool too. So I will leave you with that thought, and I'd love it if you got so much out of this, if you discovered a desire, you can't wait to share it with someone. I'd love it if you share it with me. I will include my contact details in the description as well. You can reach me on carrie@carrieadlington.com. Wishing you an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and that you receive all that your heart desires. Take care. Much love. Keep on believing.